Hey everyone, in this video I'm in Oakland, California. I'm going to be asking people on the street what it's like to live here. I'm going to ask them what they think about the negative stereotypes that they see in the news and read on the internet, and ask them, are those things true, and what is it really like to live in Oakland on a day-to-day basis? What's your name?
Elie Malcoon.
Nice to meet you, Elie. And how long have you been living in Oakland?
Almost for a year now.
Where'd you move from?
We moved from San Francisco, but for context, I used to go to Berkeley from 2006, 2010, so somewhat familiar with this area.
Okay, so what brought you here from San Francisco?
Just, the same thing that pushes a lot of people out of San Francisco, just the need for space. Also, we just want to give a test drive for moving out here permanently if we buy a house, so we just figured check out a rental and then see if we want to settle down here.
Well, what do you think so far?
We just love it. I mean, for me, it's very nostalgic to be back on College Avenue, seeing how Rockridge is, and for her especially, it's been nice to see how much my wife's adapted, loving the East Bay, and it's given us a lot of things to look forward to, so we're pretty excited.
Cool. So if someone was thinking about moving to Oakland, what would you say some pros and cons are?
There's a lot of pros. For one, the weather's very nice. You get a lot of cold, it got a little hot, tons of space, so much to do. There's almost so much up and coming in the area. Lots of a lot of things that are open in San Francisco are opening out here, so I'd say it's probably the best time to check it out before the rush gets here.
What about some of the downsides about living here?
I mean, I don't really know. There's so many downsides. I mean, you can always point to some of the common points like crime and whatnot, but we don't really experience that. Every once in a while, we have a pretty safe neighborhood. We feel pretty comfortable as it is, so hard to find some cons right now.
Awesome. So what would you say to someone who's moving here from another city or another country who, sees about crime and stuff on the news and they're a little concerned? What would you say to that person?
I'd say, you're free to make your judgments and whatnot, but until you move out here and see what it's like, you will quickly realize that those stereotypes exist somewhere. But for the most part, it's a pretty safe area. A lot of that stuff is blown out of proportion, and I can say we've been in the Bay Area for roughly 15 years now, and nothing really to complain. There's so much diversity, lots of good food, and the people here are amazing. So there's a lot of pros that weigh the cons.
Any final words to someone thinking about moving to Oakland?
Do it. What are you waiting for?
Hi.
Hi,
What's your name?
Sarah.
Sarah. How long have you been living in Oakland?
About 10 years.
Where'd you move from before that?
I moved from Monterey, but before that I moved from Wisconsin,
What brought you out here?
grad school.
So what made you move from Monterey to Oakland?
A lot of my friends were moving out here and I thought it was a really cool place to live. I was in my 20s and it seemed like a fun place.
What do you think about it now?
I still think it's a fun place.
That's good. If someone was thinking about moving here, what would you tell them some pros and cons about living here?
Pros are there's always a lot going on. I think it's a good mix for a lot of different types of people. I think if you're families, you can always find something to do. I love the weather. I love that it's really diverse. There's a lot of really great political activism that I personally think is in my kind of world. And I think that people kind of get down on it for crime and everything, but there's just such a vibrant community here with a lot of really important history. And I just don't think that it makes sense to be afraid.
Yeah, that was kind of my next question was, how Oakland's portrayed in the media, and just what would you tell someone who's thinking about moving here from another city, another country, who just reads about Oakland in the news and is a little worried about how it's portrayed?
I think that you shouldn't believe everything that you read or watch. I think you need to do your own research. And I think that everywhere has its rough spots, everywhere has its good spots. Ask around, maybe get to know some people and find out from there.
Any final words to someone thinking about moving here?
Try it. You might like it.
Name?
Anthony.
Anthony, nice to meet you. How long have you been living in Oakland?
I've been in Oakland for about 8 years.
Awesome. And where did you live before that?
I was in Houston.
Okay, what brought you out to the Bay Area?
Honestly, it was school. I went to college at San Mateo, and then I kind of just moved over here, started working. Been here ever since.
How do you like it?
It's cool. The weather's nice, but you know how it is. It gets a little crazy out here. But
Yeah, what does that mean?
a lot of people breaking in cars and just a lot of road work all the time, and you see a lot of potholes in the street. It's always messing up people's cars, and I've even caught a flat before even driving down the street. So,
What's your favorite part about living in Oakland?
I like the food. Honestly, the taco trucks are really good. Burger joints are really good. it's just really the culture too. It's really cool. Everybody's like really together as a community.
What would you say some of the downsides of living here are?
One of the downsides is rent. It's really expensive, and honestly, almost every year it goes up. Inflation is crazy. Tax on everything out here is wild. That's really like the only downfall, really. And the crime, but the crime isn't as bad. Like, I've been living here for a while, and it's not as bad as it seems, like outside of, you know how it is.
Yeah, that was actually my next question. So, if you search the internet for Oakland, a lot of negative press and negative images come up. So what would you say to someone who lives in another city or country, is thinking about moving here, and is looking at the internet and is kind of on the fence?
I say give it a try. It's really nice. It's really like gentrified around here. There's almost every race, honestly, in this area. And it's really nice, and there's a lot of opportunities.
Do you ever think about moving?
Maybe in a couple of years, but right now, I'm okay.
Any final words to someone just thinking about moving to the area?
Before you move, just make sure that you're looking at rent prices up to like 6 months ahead of time. There's a lot of wait times. When I first moved out here, I was on a 2-year waiting list. So I actually had to find somewhere else where to stay. But just Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, it's really like the only ones.
Glenn?
I think it's 32 years at least.
Okay, how'd you pick living here?
I came down here to do political work a long time ago.
And how has it changed over the past 30-ish years that you've lived here?
Wow. A lot more gentrification. Not as many people of color as there used to be, especially black people. The crime thing goes up and down in Oakland. That's what I've found.
Oakland has a reputation for crime in the news and everything. How accurate would you say that is?
How accurate the crime? I think it's a little hard to know because you hear about it all the time. It's been going on. It comes and goes, like I said. So this happens to be a kind of bad period, but I don't know.
Okay. How does it impact your day-to-day life?
I'm more careful. I don't have any purse or anything like that on me anymore. That's...
Okay. What's your favorite part about living in Oakland?
The culture, the variety, all kinds of people live in Oakland. I love that about it. Lake Merritt.
What would you say are some of the downsides of living here?
Well, like I said, the crime is a problem. The gentrification is a problem. All our major sports teams have left, and that's a huge problem because that was a really wonderful thing about the city. Yeah.
Anything you would say to someone who was thinking about moving to Oakland is a little on the fence just due to the reputation it has?
That's a hard one. I think I'd tell them to come. Yeah.
Hello, how's it going?
Hi, I'm okay. How are you?
Doing pretty good. What's your name?
My name's Andreas.
Andreas. So how long have you been living in Oakland?
I've been living in Oakland for about 5 years now.
Okay, cool. Where'd you come from?
I used to live in New York.
Oh, nice. What made you pick Oakland?
I moved here because we wanted to be closer to my in-laws.
What would you say to someone who's thinking about moving, some of the pros and cons about living here?
I think the food scene is off the charts. The diverse set of cuisines you have is phenomenal. The weather is great. I think the people are really nice, right? You're exposed to a lot of different cultures, which you don't get elsewhere. Mm-hmm. I think there's a nice energy to the city, too, that we really enjoy.
What would you say some of the downsides of living here are?
There's always the crime issue, but that's, I think, normal for any big city, so you'd expect that. I wish I could walk more places. Feels like I have to drive or take Uber a lot.
Okay, and so you mentioned crime a little bit. What would you say to someone who's from out of town thinking about moving here and, is reading on the internet and the news about the crime? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'd say don't read too much into what they're saying on the news, right? There's a lot of it's sensationalist. They're like any other big city, there are pockets that are really nice and lovely, and you're going to be really safe. And then there are areas that you probably shouldn't be hanging around after dark. But if you're just smart about, your belongings and where you are, and you're going to be totally fine, right? Like you can't, unfortunately, leave your bike unlocked just on a street in Temescal. But you don't really, besides that, you don't really notice it,
Any final words to someone who's just thinking about moving here?
I think you're not going to regret it. I think you'd really enjoy it. The people here are great. The food is phenomenal. And it's a great place to raise your family.
So how long have you lived in Oakland?
Oh, about 5 years. Well, do you count Berkeley? No.
No, but
No.
that's all right.
Okay, then maybe only 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you move here from Berkeley then?
Emeryville.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Berkeley just before that.
Why'd you move to Oakland?
Bought a house here. I love the hills, love Montclair. And so, yeah, no, it's just beautiful here.
Okay, and what do you think some pros and cons about living in Oakland are?
Cons, definitely the crime.
Okay.
I've had my car broken into a few times and friends as well. It really is kind of annoying. But pros are food. That's a big one. Lots of great hiking areas, lots of people with dogs. So he gets, a lot of socialization time. And I mean, the weather, but that's just, that's California.
And so you mentioned crime, and Oakland kind of has a reputation for having a lot of crime. How accurate is that?
It's pretty accurate. Well, I mean, I don't know who's saying what, but it's real. Like people get their car windows broken into, people get their stuff stolen all the time, and it's like in places like Berkeley, like it feels like a little more chill. And so like living there, I definitely felt like I could leave my car unlocked or my apartment unlocked and not worry so much about it. But here it's like, I gotta have a little bit more alertness, know where I'm at and know what's going on around me.
Anything else that you would tell someone who's considering moving to Oakland?
Do it. It's great. I mean, it's a great place to live. Find if you can afford the rent, if you can afford the house payments, then definitely give it a shot.
What'd you say your name was?
My name is Rodney Clay.
Rodney. All right. How long have you been living in Oakland?
I've been in Oakland for about 14 years.
Okay. Where'd you come from?
Palo Alto.
In the 14 years that you've lived here, how has it changed?
The crime, there's a crime problem. And downtown is not what it used to be. When we first moved here, you can go downtown and restaurants were open and things of that nature. And Dave and I were just talking about how now it's pretty desolate down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the change that I've seen in the last 14 years that I've been here. And most of that took place right at COVID.
And what are the best parts about living in Oakland?
The diversity. You see a lot of, you see different nationalities of people hanging out, different age groups hanging out with other age group type thing. So just the diversity, people are a lot more friendly. They say hi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned the crime obviously is a problem.
Yeah.
Do you think the way Oakland is portrayed in the media is accurate?
Nah, I think it's a lot worse.
You think it's worse in real life?
Yeah, it's worse than what they pretend to say. But here's the thing, and I kind of said that jokingly. It's not all over. I mean, there's certain parts that are just really, really not good, and you just have to know. When you come to Oakland, I tell people you just have to know what you're doing. Like up here, it's a very nice area. Oakland has pockets that are very beautiful. For example, Montclair, you can walk around. We go to Uppbeat and come here and have lunch, things of that nature.
Yeah. Who do you think would enjoy living here?
This is in Montclair area, probably families with kids, younger kids. There's a lot there's a school down there, there's a park. They got 2 ice cream parlors type things. So Montclair is, I think, ideal. Like about 2 or 3 o'clock, you see like packs of kids walking around. So I think families with kids is probably pretty much what it's cut out for right now.
Who do you think would not enjoy living in Oakland?
Maybe young, I would say like the younger professionals, like, like the financial district guys, the youngsters out in San Francisco, that age group, because there's just not a lot of nightlife. You know, I mean, there's like happy hour life.
Anything you would say to someone who's thinking about moving to Oakland?
Yeah, so Oakland does have a definite upside. It gets kind of a bad rap for the crime problem, but that's just isolated to certain areas.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, in the Bay Area, I think it's one of the last little bastions of like non-Silicon Valley-ish vibe, if you get my drift.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like, it's more real. People aren't as robotic. You know, coming from Palo Alto, which I go back and visit, night and day difference. People, like I say, and I said it kind of jokingly, people talk to you here.
Yeah.
They look at you and say, what's up? You know?
Yeah,
they don't look at you like... Anyway, that's my take right there.
That was a super fun video to make. Let me know in the comments what questions I should have asked so I can ask them in the next video. If you want to see a video what I think about living in Oakland, California, watch this video here. If you're thinking about buying or selling a home in the Bay Area, my real estate team and I would love to help. My contact information is in the description below. See you next time.